So is enough really being done to curb hate speech in the political realm? Obviously, many argue that it isn't. That's going to be the topic of discussion on Opinion Court tonight. Please use the hashtag Opinion Court on Citizen Live at 9. And you can also text on 22422, leave your name and location. That's it from me, Janet Bogwandishu, for now. And I'll hand you over to Terry Ann Chebet to begin that discussion on Opinion Court. Terry Ann.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to the Opinion Court. I am Terry Ann Chebet, standing in for Anne Kiguta. Now, the debate we want to have tonight is based on what the Jubilee Coalition refers to as an abuse of common decency by a section of CORD leaders at the rally yesterday. Was the line crossed? Now, is it absolutely impossible to give constructive criticism without trading insults, as we have seen not just at the CORD rally yesterday, but previous political rallies by both the Jubilee and the CORD sides? Now, we've got both sides of the political divide represented here tonight. We've got Priscilla Nyokabi, Women's Rep, Nyeri County. We've got David Ocheng, the Member of Parliament for Ugenya. And we've got Maurice Zoro, Vice Chair, National Cohesion and Integration Commission. And of course, our sober voice, Professor Edward Kisiangani, political analyst. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to this discussion. Now, statements uttered yesterday have been described as reckless, you know, especially by the Jubilee side of the divide. And I want to start with you. Was the line crossed?
The country we're living in is very sick. We're living in a country that doesn't have any defined values and ways of doing things. So, and I'll start from that level. That, you know, the idea of picking events here and there and saying, no, this is how you should look at things, for me is wrong. Because in the last 2-3 months alone, the Jubilee side of the coalition has made very, what I would call very alarming statements. And then today, Citizen decides that because CORD said something, we need to have a debate. And this has been happening all along. Things are said, you're quiet. Things are said, then the a CORD person says something, we are called on TV. It's wrong. And like I said, this country generally very sick. But that is
not an absolutely true statement.
We need to address,
because remember, Moses Kuria was here, you know, after what happened. So it is unfair for you to say that we are just focusing on CORD. But you're right, you know, by saying it is wrong.
It's wrong that every time things happen in the past, but when a person of CORD sneezes, then that becomes a suspect. But was the line crossed yesterday? And so I must stick with that.
Was the line crossed yesterday?
That's what I want to go to. And that's what I'm talking about, values. I'm talking about principles that you want to live with. I'm talking about what is decent. When you say there was a line crossed, what is decent? And we are living in a country where anything goes. And why? Because people have been given the freedom to speak what they think. People have a chance to debate. People have a chance to talk to each other. But in a country where one side speaks, the other side doesn't listen. One side speaks, the other side does not listen. You can be sure that after a while, people get so frustrated. People get mad. People get angry. And you can be sure these kind of things will happen in a long time, for a long time, if we don't address the issues that are facing as a country. And so I would look at it, in my opinion, as an expression of frustrations with what's happening in the country. But that is not to say that I'll excuse, that I will condone, that I will allow anybody to use unsavory language against the other or against another Kenyan. I think it's wrong. And I'm happy that the vice chairperson of NCIC is here. I was joking with him that, you know, since his vetting, I've never heard of him. In Parliament, I've not seen him on television. And things happening in this country that requires that they do something about.
Yes, and of course we'll be talking about that.
Yes. So I think that we are the only one country that makes laws for anything. Anything small happens, we make a law. So we've made so many laws in this country that we don't implement. But the idea of classifying issues that are wrong, issues that could be criminal, as CORD and the Jubilee is also wrong. If someone has done something wrong, let's look at it in terms of what did so and so say. Don't classify people as CORD. Don't classify people as Jubilee. If they have wronged, if they have said something wrong, it is those persons who have talked. Yeah, but the moment you balkanize us into Jubilee and CORD, you start losing the soul of the nation. Yeah.
Nyokabi, what is your take on that?
I mean, it's very, very disappointing. The remarks that went down by Honorable Senator Mudhama were really wrong. And I think actually he needs to apologize, not just to Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru, but to the women of this country and to many other people who he really, really annoyed and whose rights he infringed. It is wrong. I don't think I would argue like Honorable Cheng, like that the line was not crossed. The line was crossed. Even in politics, there is too low. There is a certain level of, certain level of debate that we shouldn't go to. This is a teacher's salary issue. Completely understandable, completely economic, completely, with figures and systems and processes of reforming the issue. You don't have to get personal with anybody. You don't have to insult anyone. And let me say, for CORD, this is not just the only time. Every time we have a national issue, they call a public rally at the Uhuru Park so that they can have even more freedom. In Parliament, we have rules of decorum, rules of debate, rules of engagement. If they have anything important to add to a debate, we should take it to the floor where there is a little bit more sort of decorum and standing orders guide the debate. Every time they go to a rally, they dance, they use all manner of language, they insult the president. I think it is wrong. I think for me, we in the Jubilee coalition rarely, very rarely insult the former Prime Minister. And we even have never used the kind of language they use on the president. The president was elected, the president is in office. You can address the president in respectful ways. You can talk about the teachers' issues. You can, for example, bring your figures, bring your proposals, table something that is concrete. But to call a rally in which you dance, you put on school uniform, you insult people, you are not helping the situation. And teachers are still at home. What we expected from rational members of CORD is actually a proper policy framework. And you remember the taxpayers pays for Jubilee and pays for the CORD members. Even as they insult, as they abuse, as they dance, as they remove their clothes, they are within taxpayers' money. So I think for me, we cannot excuse them anymore. I think that the national cohesion, you really now have to get on the back of the people who are on the extreme. Some political debate is allowed, some political language is allowed, but if any member is getting onto extreme levels, they should be called upon. And not just Moses Kuria, even NCIC is also only calling one member. They should now summon the ones who infringed the lines of decorum yesterday.
Starting with Duale, right?
Duale was not in the rally yesterday.
No, he's spoken severally.
He was not in the rally. We are talking about the ones who are in the rally. Senator Mudhama.
You can choose. You can pick and choose whom you're going to call.
Prof?
I think for me, Tehran, I think this debate that we're having about whether or not people crossed the line is an attempt by the political elite on both sides to obscure the real issues that are hurting this country. Because when I first saw the Jubilee members of Parliament trying to come in and defend what they call their members who had been abused, I think within the constitutional orientation we have provisions. If Anne Waiguru is offended by any of the people that spoke at Uhuru Park, she is an intelligent Kenyan. She can go to court and prefer a prosecution against that person. If President Uhuru Kenyatta also is offended because something like that happened, it doesn't need a press conference from our own. And even if we made judgments that, look, these people crossed the line, our judgment can only end at that. There is an arbitration team, which is the judiciary, which can make decision upon a complaint. That has not been done. In my opinion, what was happening is that Jubilee found a chance to, first of all, if the information that we're getting on is true, they even directed the Inspector General. You also have another case where the Director of Public Prosecution has now become alive, and we thought that his basket was full with angle leasing. He has not prosecuted anybody. We thought that his basket was full with regard to Goldenberg. He's not doing the job. There are many people who have done things wrong, and he has not done it. So we want these institutions to talk. The Kenyan national issues, we don't want to see press conferences of people trying to moralize over certain statements, but to look at it in this way. there is national anger about so many things in this country. And even the national cohesion, when it is addressing the national leadership of this country, they must say that this anger, sometimes people don't know how to mourn. There is national anger. The children are at home. They are fighting. They are thinking that they don't have a future because others in private schools are learning. The teachers are asking questions. I think what should concern even the both sides of political divide is that we have this constitution, and Madam Priscilla is herself a distinguished lawyer. We have a constitution. Under Article 159, you know what this constitution says about the judiciary. And of course, you also know that between Article 19 and Article 59, which is the Bill of Rights, there are fundamental rights, and you know that Article 19, especially, Item 3 says that these rights are not given by the state. One of the rights that is not given by the state is, for example, the right to good remuneration, the right to good housing, and so on. So really, these are the main issues that should concern them, that if we are in government today and we have rejected what the judiciary has said, what will we do when we are out of government and some ruling is made about us? So I expect them to also give good advice to the government, to their leadership, and say, let us not go side issues. These issues that are coming through this anger, let Anna Waiguru take it up, let the president take that up as individuals. What they wanted to say is, what is creating this anger with the code to even end up saying this? Let us settle the main issues that are affecting the nation first before we go to this tribunal. So for me, it is obscuring the real issues, and they are enjoying it.
All right, let's hear about the NCIC.
I think the point about anybody enjoying it is not true. Nobody is enjoying the situation. We are.
We'll have a chance to say something on that.
We'll come
nobody is
back to
enjoying.
that.
At least that should be made clear. The leaders cannot enjoy the situation the country is in.
We'll come back to that, and I want to find out about double standards right after we hear from Zoro. Where does the NCIC fall? We only hear about NCIC when there's a public outcry. Yet these public rallies are going on for, they have been going on for months. Jubilee side, the CORD side as well. And I want to say that we did not call this just because this happened at a CORD rally yesterday. It didn't. Zoro.
Let me start by saying the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, the vice chairperson is Irene Wanyoike. It's not me. My position is that of the chairman of the Legal and Complaints Committee. And I'm glad I'm here to make some things clear. What happened yesterday was something of great concern to us as a commission. And I would like to say that we sent our technical team. They took some information. They are liaising with CID and the other parties, and they will bring everything to us, and then there we shall gather all the evidence, and of course there are steps that we're going to take.
All right.
Our mandate is to bring about cohesion in this country, and when we get this information and the evidence, then we take
but we already have the evidence. It was live on TV. The same happened with Moses Kuria as well. We saw everything on TV, but yet the case of video not being evidence in a court of law has apparently become an issue. Yet, Kenyans know what was said. What more evidence does NCIC need?
I think what I'm trying to say is that whatever the video or whatever evidence we get, we usually take that lot to the DPP. And our mandate ends there. The DPP carries it up now after studying it. And that's what I'm trying to say all here.
And there's been a back and forth. It's NCIC, and then NCIC says, no, that's the work of the police, and then the police says that's the work of the NCIC.
But according to
where does the buck stop?
But according to the NCIC Act, our mandate is clear. Our mandate is clear that we will get our people on the ground. We have trained over 400 policemen. We have given them not only the training, but we have also given them some gadgets. And we have our people everywhere in all the 47 counties. And it's only fair to say here that when we gather all this, our mandate stops at giving that evidence to the DPP, and then from there, he continues.
But at what point do you say person A or person B has uttered statements that can be termed as hate speech?
We usually, it's easy, according to what we gather from the videos, from the speeches, like from the media. We have our own way of assessing.
No, I want to help you.
Yeah.
You know, Commissioner, you know in the Act,
yeah,
there is a specific definition of what hate speech is.
Yes, you are right.
So that's what Anne is, I mean...
Because you know, what you can't get away with, and what I've seen happening in this country the last few months, that everyone wants to put their skunk at the door of the DPP. It's the wrong thing to do. Can you tell us, what have you done in the last, say, 6-7 months to ensure that hate speech is curtailed? Because you can't tell us that DPP's role is very different from what you're supposed to do.
Okay, if you want to know what we have done in the last 7 months, I have the report here. We have taken people to the DPP, and the DPP has taken them to court. Like the issue.
No, Teriana, I hate this because I'll tell you this. The reason you see what's happening today is that our children are now growing up not knowing what is right and what is wrong.
And I need you to answer that, and it's important, it's good that you have raised the point about children. Yesterday, our children have been home for a while. Yesterday, they were home watching, waiting to hear about interventions for the teachers. But what do they hear? You know, does politics come before a moral responsibility?
Yes. But let me also... I also want to chip in because
can I have a go on that?
I think you will come, but just quickly before we leave NCIC, because what has happened with political leaders is this: we can't go and say anything and do anything so that the hate speech commission can come and arrest us. I think that we need leaders who are observing Chapter 6, leaders who are observing decorum in the speeches that they make. So to come now and say that the NCIC should come back and arrest, it should start with us as we.
And I totally agree with her, because you see,
I don't agree.
I will give you a chance.
It is very wrong for leaders who are mature in this country, leave alone the act of NCIC, leave alone the laws that are made in the parliament, leave alone the constitution. Culturally, mature people should know how to talk, should know how to behave. And I think what I'm seeing here in Kenya today are leaders who are not responsible.
And they go back and say, the reason we did NCIC law is this what I'm hearing here. We had a lot of this happening, and we thought that for us to curtail this, we need to have a body to investigate this and curtail this.
And we are doing it. We are doing it.
There isn't a single politician who has been...
Can I make my point, because I keep on being interrupted?
Yes, Oche.
Yeah, you know, as a country, we have a good constitution for us. And in that constitution, one thing that we did that you don't see in most constitutions, that we set for ourselves what we call values. How we want to lead ourselves, how we want to live as a people. We have that. And that will be the first stop for the commission. The first stop will be there. I've not heard them saying, can we have a curriculum, in our curriculum, this and this happening. I've not heard them push for that.
We have done that.
Because what you needed to do...
By the way,
what you needed to do, because if that has not been done, then it's been basic, it's not going anywhere. But the point I want to make is this, that as a country, and that's why I started by saying that we have a very sick country, as a country we must go back to the basics. We must start defining for ourselves what is good for us, what is bad for us. And even as media, we must start knowing what is best for this country. Black out anybody you think is not doing the right thing. I mean, we need to have some basic minimum standards we're going to live with, and live with those ones. But the idea...
I need to ask you this about double standards. If it was the CORD leader, for instance, Raila, who had faced those disparaging attacks yesterday, as alleged by the Jubilee side, would you have responded the same way? The first question that I asked you?
Yes. Terian, it's not long ago when Raila, my party leader, was called the Lord of Poverty by none other than that side of the coalition. So there's nothing like double standards. It is endemic. It is bad. It is killing our country. And I think the best thing to do is not to apportion blame, because that's what we are best at doing as a country. Can we sit together as a country and say, this is the way you want to live, this is the way you want to do our things? But the idea that we'll be coming on TV and blaming so and so did this, that's that.
Let me take one statement from Nyokabi just before we go on. Should the same have happened to let's say Raila again, would you have stood up for him, or is it only a matter of concern when it is somebody from your side of the coalition that has been attacked?
No, it is every leader that we have. I think that decorum should be exercised. And let us not excuse CORD. We in Jubilee are very sure in our minds that a lot of the bad language has actually come from
No, that's not true.
It has come from CORD.
Not true.
Even in Parliament.
Even in Parliament. That is not true, and you know it.
I know it is true that you guys are the leaders of the bad language. But, Terian, let us say this as leaders, that we need to have decorum in our leadership, both CORD and
that is true, but that is where the hypocrisy is. That's where we have lost it. That, you know, even when you saw CORD supporting Jubilee supporting the president's statement on Sunday, and as well supporting, taking sides over the Uhuru Park rally, they are not informed by the fact that is this right or is it wrong, but they are informed by the fact that they belong to a particular wing, and they must support it. And that's where we're getting it wrong. And so, if you really want decorum, I actually agree with you. We need decorum on both sides. But now, when this language is what you say every day, this is a CORD matter, this is a Jubilee matter, where will our country go? Some of us are neither Jubilee nor CORD. So where do we belong? Now, with regard to the cohesion committee where you are a member, you know you are earning public funds for doing nothing. And please go back and talk to these commissioners. You know, you have been asked questions repeatedly by Terian. Your job is not just to prosecute. Your job is also to educate people, to be cohesive. And what you do, you address two sides. You address the public, like myself, the people on the streets, to change their attitudes about each other, about the communities that live in Kenya. This ethnic hatred should stop. But with regard to leaders also, we want you to engage them in a particular way that we see you are engaging them. For example, you at one time you published figures in government about ethnic composition of employment. Now, this problem persists. You are the only body who can say, and let me say this, so and so is not taking action, and we need to talk to him and say, take action. These things are the ones that are building this anger. And what are you doing about such a things?
What I'm trying to say here is that we are always at the grassroots level.
So and just a minute. Let me. You in my grassroots place in Bungoma.
Bungoma, we've been there.
Which village?
Not village, but we've
the county.
That is the crossroads.
No. Let me say it. We've been to Bungoma. We've been to, because we are not just going to deal with the hate speech issue. We have to bring cohesion and do civic education, which we have done. Just the other day, we launched the Amani. He was talking about curriculum. We are working with the Ministry of Education. We have Amani clubs in over 20 counties right now, beginning from the children at that age in the primary level.
I want to ask you about
perhaps there's a need for an Amani club for the members of parliament.
And what we're trying to do, you know, you can address both as you continue with this question. If you compare, and with the respect, you are a former minister, and you know how government works.
Of course.
So if you compare our country's position with regards to cohesion in 2007 and now, do you think there is improvement or we are getting worse in your assessment?
My assessment is that, you see, cohesion is not about the NCIC.
No, cohesion. Just answer the question. Do you think
where are we now?
Where are we?
Where we are right now, we are in cohesion. We are a bit fair.
We are worse off.
We can't be fair.
Just a minute.
No, you can't lie to the public. We are worse off.
A research was done.
You know this, that in the last election, even 07, last election, you know, you would see signs. If there's any movement of tectonic plates or the
let me see this, please, because I was answering that question. Please allow me.
Okay.
A research was done, and we have produced results. There is an index in the whole Kenya and an cohesion index for every county.
Which says?
And what I want to tell you is that as far as cohesion is concerned, we are not badly off. Only that. The leaders are now trying to stir it up, especially the political leaders, As
and
we are
that is
nearing,
my point
as we are
exactly.
nearing 2017, which is very bad.
What is the role of the political class in where we
I
are
want to come to that.
from a cohesive point of view?
I want to come to that. And I want to be honest with you.
And we're about to wrap up.
Yes. You know, the major problem we have in this country today is that, and I want to say this without batting an eyelid, Uhuru Kenyatta do anything that he thinks is right or wrong because he knows some people will always follow him whether he says something wrong or right. The same for my party leader.
Yeah.
He will say something, he knows that whether bad or right, my people will follow me. Okay? And this is where we must start. The idea that and I want to use those terms because I think it's fair. The idea that Kikuyus and Kalenjins will follow Uhuru Kenyatta, whether it's right or wrong, must stop. The idea that Luos and lawyers and other people must follow Raila Odinga, even whether what he says is wrong, must stop. And we must start doing this through his commission. We must start working on this slowly and gradually, so that we reach a level where we can look at each other in terms of ideas. Even on this teachers issue, you've seen people taking position not based on issues, but based on ethnic orientation. It's very wrong. And as political parties, and I'm happy that we are working on things that are going to make political parties be more democratic and more appealing to what the Constitution says. But going forward, what I would appeal to you as media also, and even to the Commission, is that if we don't do this, if we don't ensure that this country is able to live as one, then you are seeing secessions happening in this country.
All right, I want us to take some final comments, but Nyokabi, I need to ask you one more thing. Women leadership or women in leadership, it only seems as if you support each other or will stand up very strongly for each other when one of your own has been abused. But regularly we do not really see that.
No,
is that the hypocrisy that Professor was talking about?
We also have a very hypocritical media. You also will never cover positive things about anything that goes on in Parliament. You will only cover when there is drama. A lot of good work goes on in that assembly. He and I sit in the Legal Affairs Committee. We, for instance, just before we got into the drama of teachers, passed the companies law. Fairly earth-breaking law in terms of
which
how
we covered actually on the business.
But let me tell you, you will not say that CORD and Jubilee MPs are working together on companies law. You will never say CORD and Jubilee MPs. We pass the budget together, even the budget with the teachers' salaries and everything. We pass it together in the National Assembly. So I think part of it is also what we have made our country to be, that we all have to be polarized. So it is true that women, we support each other even on other many issues. Governance is not just, governance and this teacher strike is not the rally yesterday. The teacher strike is, it goes back 10 years ago. So a lot of good work goes on, and we are also asking the media, even in these cohesion matters, cover what is positive about us. Don't just give us what is negative about this country.
All right.
But for leaders, and just as I wind up as well, because I may not get another chance, I think that we cannot be excused. Those of us who are called to leadership will have to get into a higher calling. And that is for both Jubilee and for CORD. And the higher calling means we put ideas on the table. We debate on ideas. The truth of the matter is that Jubilee is the ruling coalition. There is nothing we can do about that. And so as a ruling coalition, Jubilee then would always have the duty of bringing the proposals to the table, of bringing the budget to the table, of implementing and executing the ideas. The CORD coalition, on the other hand, their life is not about rallies, is not about dancing, is not about funerals. CORD must equally bring ideas to the table, and that is what we will see as a better Kenya. Otherwise, if we elect like this teachers debate, we have now ended up, you know, obscuring even the issues. We better even go with the president's speech. At least that was understandable. The rest of us
okay. Let Zoro speak as we wind up.
If we really want Kenya to be one, what I would ask leaders on both sides, the government and the opposition, they must really remove the Mtuwetu syndrome. Mtuwetu syndrome is going to kill us in this country. It's so bad for us to defend somebody who has done bad or who has said that bad just because we know he is from our tribe or ethnic line. And I think as a commission, let me say this, we have reports and we have done our analysis. We are not going to stand because the mandate commands us to take steps. That's how I was saying. There are so many pending cases that are in court. There are so many reports, and we are going to actually ask people to come and explain why they behave the way they are. Because we have children who should learn from us. And we should not behave like children on rallies, just talking anyhow.
Your closing remarks?
Yeah. A couple of things, probably. Let me just lead them to three. One is where we are as a country today. We are at a crossroads. on everything. Economy, agriculture, the way we just live is wrong. We need to have one country and we need to be one people. If the president could sort out the issue of teachers before the end of this week, David Uching will be very happy. Two, on the topic for today, I think as Kenyans, we must look at each other. We must face each other face to face and say that if we can live together in estates where my next door neighbor is a Kikuyu, the next door guy is a Luya, the other guy is a Luya, and we take tea together, our children play together. What happens when it comes to politics? Why must we then withdraw to our cocoons every other time? I think we need to have a change of thinking and a change of mind on how we handle the issues of this country. And finally, I would really wish to appeal to the media that let's take the message of unity and cohesion more seriously. Thank you so much.
Nyakabi, your final thoughts, and then Prof will wind up with you.
I think I'm also on the same line about taking Kenyan issues very, very seriously. We need to have a country of tolerance. We've also seen violent episodes, and that is the sad thing about the hate speech. Hate speech, the reason why we want the commission to be very strict on it is that if you don't watch hate speech, you actually go to violence. And we've seen violent episodes on by-elections, again, mostly with CORD, but
no, you can't accuse CORD for violence. You know,
we need to watch that. But just in closing, I think that
in the spirit of cohesion.
Yeah, how do you start accusing CORD of violence?
ODM has violence.
No, that is wrong.
On the spirit of cohesion and on the spirit of national issues, I think like the strikes we are seeing with our public officers, it is very wrong to go on strike. Like now, the person suffering amidst all these debates is actually our children. All of us are not, we can engage here, but the people who are at home, people who are facing exams are actually our children. So for our health workers and our teachers, these debates are not easy. So the best thing for a country, and a country where you want to serve, as the issues are being debated and discussed, please be going on with work. And me, I would still plead with our teachers to go back, even as the issues are getting resolved.
Prof, your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is, I think I'll be happy as a Kenyan. I wake up and I see members of the CORD coalition challenge their own leadership on the way they respond to national issues. And I don't stand with them with regards to the accusation of the media. Because one of the things that, for example, the Jubilee coalition has missed, I thought when they called a press conference, they would even highlight that. The dancers, with the ones...
And dancing is fine, that's no,
wait, quotes and quotes.
But dancing for a strike.
The people who went to Uhuru Park, the leaders of this country who are here at Uhuru Park, some of them are part of the problem of the teachers. Jubilee was not able to highlight that so that the public can see that other side, it is the media that did it. To say, all right, you didn't ask the media to do that. It showed Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka what he did when he was Minister for Education over the same matter, which I thought was excellent. So this is what we want people to gauge so that we can know which kind of leaders we have. Now, you in Jubilee, while we expect CORD to do that with regards to, CORD members to do that with regards to their political leadership, which can even help to change leadership in every political wing, we expect you people in Jubilee also to face the president. Some of the figures he gave on Sunday in his speech were erroneous. And you tell him, Mr. President...
By the way, that has been corrected. There were no figures that were erroneous. There has been a...
That is a debate for another day.
Yes, but there has been a correction.
Let us not have that.
Not a correction of figures,
the president gave were wrong.
Okay. The figures of the president were wrong. There was nothing wrong with the figures of the president.
Let me wind up. Let me wind up. Let me wind up. I was not going to that debate, but I'm saying, you look at the president and say, the public, as the people we represent, are saying we should solve the teachers' strike. You have given this proposal probably with the support of your team. But we also think you can solve it this way. We think that when you do this, you are a little wrong, but here you are right. So that the president doesn't look like he's under siege. He is our president, and we need everybody to help him. And I've said this to Anne. Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency will improve drastically, because right now it is wavering. But his presidency is going to improve drastically if he discards the sycophants around him, and then he embraces the critics.
And new ideas.
Uhuru needs critics. He doesn't need the psychopaths
All
around
right,
him.
we'll need to wind up. We need to wind up now. Thank you all so much for joining us. You've been watching The Opinion Court with Priscilla Nyokabi, Women's Rep Nyeri, David Ochieng, Member of Parliament for Ugenya, Maurice Zoro from the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, as well as Professor Edward Kisiangani, our political scientist. And I'm Terry Antibet. I've been standing in for Anne Kiguta. Have a good evening.